All right, very warm welcome. I want to start off by just sharing a dream that I had last night. Not that it will make sense to everybody, but to share. There are actually cultures where you wake up really early and everybody has to share their dream. If you go to South America, you'll come across certain tribes in South America that wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And the whole tribe sits and everybody shares their dreams. So it's a culture where dreams are no less important, maybe even more important than your waking reality. So in my dream last night, the last part of it, there was a lot, but the last part of it was that I was in a place where there were some men sleeping on the ground and they were not waking up. And there were a few other people with me. And then as they tried to wake them up, they realized that these people are actually very violent people. They're not to be trusted, dangerous people. And some people got ready to defend themselves. And I noticed that I decided I'm not going to fight. I'm just going to depend on state of love. That's going to be my approach. That's the first thing that happened. I decided not to fight, but depend on love. I said my weapon will be love. And then I went to the bathroom to have a shower. It was an enormous bathroom, not a small bathroom, very huge. And while I'm having a shower, people began coming into the room. Apparently I'm supposed to give a talk over there and people have come. So a lot of people are coming while I'm having a shower. So I go and I stand behind a curtain and I ask everyone who's coming, I said, please leave. Wait for me to get ready, then you come. And everyone has to get up and leave, including, there are some very old people who had, with a lot of difficulty, they sat down. Their bones are hurting, but they have to get up and go out. So, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the dream, but for me, there were two lessons in the dream. One is that instead of always taking the approach of I've got to defend myself, I've got to fight back, it's also possible to take the approach of, just be in a state of love and everything will work itself out. And second is a book that Pinky often refers to, The Courage to be Disliked, that a whole room full of people has come and to ask them to get up and leave. And they would not like that. But the courage to be disliked, it's okay to be disliked. Wait for me to be ready. So this felt like sharing. And then there was another part of the dream, which is what this session is based on. So that I'll take you through right now. So good. Many of you joined. You can sit comfortably. In today's practice, I'm going to be talking about flow, talking about connection, and talking about the combination of flow and connection. And I'll explain more what that means. The first part of this practice will be on flow. I'm going to be giving you images and notice the impact those images have on you. The first image, which you've all probably seen, is the image of A line of ants walking. A line of ants. Could be any size of ant, small or large. Could be in a city or could be in a forest. A line of ants are walking. And now I want you to expand and realize that all across the planet, lines of ants are walking. Some on the ground, some on trees, some on buildings, some underground. All across the planet, lines of ants are walking. Next image is of a tree, and leaves are growing, maturing, and at some point the leaves will fall away. Leaves grow, mature, stay for a while, and at some point they fall away. And now realize this is happening throughout the forest, throughout the planet. Countless trees, and in each of these trees, leaves mature, they grow, they mature, and they fall away. And notice the impact that image has on you. Throughout the planet, in different countries, leaves are born, mature, and they fall away. Next image is of waves rising and falling. Waves rising and falling. So throughout the world, on oceans, on rivers, on lakes, on ponds, there are ripples and waves that rise and fall away. So again, bring in this image of waves rising and falling. It's happening throughout the world. In a subtle way, we are inviting you to see just how pervasive change is. Change is everywhere. Change is in everything. Don't be shocked by change. Change is the way things are. The next image is of cloud formations, different cloud patterns and formations. Wherever you are, there are cloud formations. And then throughout the world, there are cloud formations, different kinds of clouds, and they form and they dissipate. Cloud formations throughout the world. The next image is of people buying clothes, wearing clothes, then putting the clothes in the laundry. The clothes get washed and dried and cleaned. And in some cases, they get ironed and they're worn again. And they're worn again and again until the clothes become unwearable. They don't fit or they become too old. And this is happening with person after person all over the world. So notice how people all over the world are buying clothes, wearing clothes, putting them through some kind of cleaning or dry cleaning process. And they go back into the wardrobe. And they do this a certain number of times until the clothes no longer fit, no longer are in fashion, or no longer look good. And they keep on doing this throughout their lives. These are all examples of flow from the natural world to the human world. Right now, in this moment, your heart is beating, blood is flowing throughout your body, throughout your whole body. And this is happening with every human and every animal throughout the whole world. According to the Buddha, there is nothing as skillful you can do in your life as developing anicca sanya. What does it mean? Anicca sanya. Cultivating the perception of change, the perception of impermanence. There's nothing in this world as skillful as that, according to the Buddha. And in a way, that's what we're doing now. Notice how you keep changing your posture throughout the day. For some time, you'll sit, then you'll stand up, then you'll walk, then you'll lie down. You'll keep on interchanging your posture. You don't lie down forever. Even if you lie down, you'll change your position. You don't stand forever. After a while, you'll want to sit. You don't sit forever. After a while, you'll want to walk. You keep on exchanging your posture. Byron Katie has a beautiful quote. You're either sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. Everything else is a story. I'm teaching, I'm cooking, I'm planning. This is a story that you're telling. Actually, sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. That's all that's actually happening. Everything else is a story. One could even say that that's a story, sitting, standing, walking, lying down. But it's pointing to something. So now notice how you're not the only one. Every human in the whole world, every animal in the whole world keeps interchanging their postures. Of course, not all animals can sit, but nevertheless. So notice how postures keep getting changed. Your home will have to be cleaned, maybe vacuumed, maybe dusted, maybe wiped, maybe mopped. The surfaces, it'll have to be reorganized. Bathrooms will have to be cleaned. And this is happening not only in your home, it's happening in every home, every office, every place in the world. So things get cleaned and things get unclean. They get dusty, they get dirty, they get disorganized, and they've got to be reorganized. And notice this process of cleaning and things getting a little messy again. This is happening all over the world. These are all examples of anicca sanya, impermanence, cultivating that perception that truly it's impermanent. In this moment, today itself, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people got a new job, they got hired. And also today, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people lost their job, they got retired, or they got fired. So people are hired, people move through the organization, and they get retired or they get fired. And this is happening not only in your organization, it's happening in all organizations, all human institutions. So now just see this all around the world, this is happening. You buy a shoe, and over a period of time, the sole wears out. Over a period of time, it starts to break down, gets dirty, breaks down. Your footwear doesn't last forever. And this is happening for all footwear, for everyone across the world. In most cases, not in every case. People have to go and get a haircut every month or so. And the hair has to be fixed, and again it grows. So noticing change, impermanence, constant change, it's happening everywhere. Planets are spinning, stars are spinning, galaxies are spinning. All planets, stars, galaxies, it's all spinning. And this is happening not just here, it's happening everywhere in the universe. Anicca, cultivating that perception of change, constant, continuous change. Every single day, all across the world, there is some kind of earthquake, some kind of volcanic activity, some kind of natural event is happening throughout the world. Earthquakes, volcanic activity, forest fires. So let me get a little feedback from you. What's happening as I'm giving you image after image? Just put it in the chat maybe. What are you noticing as you think like this again and again? From ants to waves to clouds. What's happening when you're getting reminded again and again of how extensive change is? What impact is it having on you, if any? Impermanence. Not clinging to anything, inevitable. It's like pictures flashing by on a TV. Changes in the events of my life. I remember when I was studying psychology, I came across a field of psychology called developmental psychology. What is developmental psychology? They figured out different things happen at different ages. So psychological development under the age of 10, in your teenage years, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And they literally figured out what you tend to go through in the first 10, 20, 30, 40 years of your life. And I found it fascinating that, we think we're living such unique lives, but actually there's a trend. There are things that you will go through. Like you've probably all heard of that midlife crisis. It's a thing. It is quite common for people somewhere in their 30s or 40s or 50s to really question what's it all about and for things to lose their meaning. So, and then there was another example where there was a couple of professors from IIM Ahmedabad, and they studied over 30 years, some students of IIM Ahmedabad, and they followed up with their lives. And the trends were there. These people had gone on to become very successful in the corporate world. At one level, they were successful, they were wealthy, they were powerful, but they also had challenges. Many of them had health issues, many of them had stress issues, many of them got a heart bypass operation. They weren't necessarily happy. So again, it showed me that, we think our lives are so, um, I'm deciding, but actually there's a large scale at which things are happening. Makes me feel exhausted and calm at the same time. Yeah, fascinating. All right, so this was just to get you primed up. Now we're going to be quiet for a bit. And I want you to remain in touch with change in your own way. I gave you many, many different examples of change. The more direct way to be in touch with change, is to notice it at the sensory level. So sounds are changing. Feelings are changing. Thoughts are changing. And one thing I like to add to it is they're changing without my permission. This is very interesting. They're changing without my permission. In other words, you don't have to make the change happen. The change is happening anyway. Your heart is beating anyway, breath is moving anyway, thoughts are coming anyway, sounds and every other experience. It's happening anyway. So being directly in touch with change, impermanence at any level, sensory level, physical level, emotional level, mental level. One thing I want to add is in my case, when I began doing this practice, a part of me began to worry because I could feel the inevitability of old age and sickness and death. It became so obvious. There's going to be old age, sickness, and death. And then I would add a layer of, will I be strong enough? Will I be strong enough to handle that old age, sickness, and death? Am I strong enough? But since then, I realized that there is this phenomena which you probably all experienced, that you worry about something that in the end turns out to be not a big deal. We spend so much time worrying about something, like maybe someone in the family, some child in the family, supposed to come back at 7 p.m. and they come back at 9 p.m. They're not back till 9 p.m. You start worrying. But then most of the time they come back. It's fine. You spend 2 hours worrying. And this is a phenomena in many aspects of our life. We worry about things that haven't yet happened and may never happen. So I'm worrying about these things, but I don't know. Maybe I'll be fine. Why should I worry about it? If I'm worrying, I'm only strengthening the tendency to worry. I'll worry then also then. So I want to add that experience impermanence without worry. Your life began with a crisis. Your mother was in tremendous pain. Doctors had to be called, midwives had to be called. There was a crisis, but you were fine. And then there's been a crisis at every level. The crisis of joining a school, meeting unknown children. The crisis of going through teenagehood and having all these hormones going through you. The crisis of being rejected, being disliked, being teased, being bullied. We've had crisis after crisis, but here we are. So who are you without the layer of worry? Deal with it as it comes. So allow yourself to experience impermanence without worry. And this allows you to experience this moment more completely, more deeply, more comprehensively. And there's an inbuilt confidence in this, that if I can experience this moment more deeply, more completely, more comprehensively, without resistance, without pulling and pushing, then whatever comes up next, old age, sickness, death, anything else, I will experience that moment more completely, more comprehensively, without pulling and pushing. This is an internal confidence which comes, which nobody else can give you actually. It will only come from your presently being open, being receptive, in a state of non-resistance. Noticing that change happens without your permission. In other words, it happens anyway, whether you like it or not, want it or not. So this is the first part of our practice, flow. We're coming to the second part of our practice. which is connection. And I'm using connection as another word for love. Again, we'll explore this in different ways. We are all in this session together because of connection. There's something you connect to in these sessions. Maybe the teachings, maybe me. Maybe you feel more connected to yourself. It's because of that you're here. And that connection is love. Your love for these teachings, your love for me, your love for yourself, your love for a good life or a better life. So notice how love is bringing us all together and keeping us all together. Your family is together because of love. The connection that keeps your family together is love. And some of you will say, no, you don't know my family. It's very dysfunctional. It's not love, it's fear that keeps us together. But if you look deeper, behind that fear is also love. Behind the fear is also love. You love wanting to be a certain way, and so you're afraid of losing it. So what keeps families together is connection and love. Either a very obvious love or a disguised love. So just like we explored earlier with flow, there's flow happening everywhere. From the microscopic to the macroscopic, flow is happening. Impermanence. In the same way, there is connection. Everyone and everything is connected. And I'm going to call the ingredient that keeps it connected, I'm going to call it love. There's a game I play sometimes with people where I name very different things and they have to find a connection. And everyone always finds a connection. Like I say, what's the connection between a train and an elephant? Train and an elephant seem like totally different things. But if you think deeply, you'll find a connection. There's always a connection. Maybe train is heavy and it moves. Elephant is heavy and it moves. There could be other things. What's the connection between a dentist and a pipe? Pipe and a dentist seem like totally different things. But if you think deeply, you'll find there is a connection. And And if you think deeply, everything is connected. There's nothing that's unconnected. It's a limitation of your imagination if you can't find the connection. So what's keeping us connected and everything connected is love. So I invite you to tune into this universal connection and this universal field of love. Just like in my dream, I relied on love in that dangerous situation. More than fighting and pulling and pushing, I relied on love. So you also rely on love. Too often we depend on thinking to resolve things in our life. It'd be much simpler to rely on love. Everything's connected, and what's keeping it connected is love. So experience that love, tune into that love. Love is what draws things together and keeps things together. While allowing everything to retain its individuality, not forcing uniformity. What does it mean to be connected? What is it like to be connected? What is it like to recognize love? Be in a state of love. There's a connection between the earth and the sky and the stars. There's a connection between police and criminals. There's a connection between men and women and children. There's a connection between plants and insects and animals and humans, who are also a kind of animal. There's a connection between the microbiome of the earth, the bacteria in the earth, and the bacteria in our gut, the microbiome in our gut. There's a connection. There's a connection between what we see and hear and smell and taste and touch and think and our internal life and our internal choices. There is a connection. It's all connected. There's a connection between the poor and the rich, the privileged and the underprivileged, the franchised and the disenfranchised, the represented and the underrepresented, the powerful and the powerless. There's a connection. It's all connected. Failure to see a connection is not a lack of connection, it's a lack of imagination. It's a lack of insight. Did you know that music and mathematics are connected? Did you know that art and chemistry are connected? Did you know that how long you can hold your breath is connected to learning ability? These are all connections. And what's underlying this connection is love. And love is more than you think it is, more mysterious than you think it is. So now we're coming to the last part. I'm stuck on dentist and pipe. Dentist smokes a pipe. Let me ask all of you, what's the connection between dentist and pipe before we go ahead? Well, if you think of pipe as the pipe of smoking pipe, then one obvious connection is the mouth, isn't it? You smoke a pipe with your mouth and the dentist works in the mouth. Could be one connection. If you think of a pipe as a metallic rod with a hole, or any kind of rod with a hole, hollow, you're not able to unmute, Sandeep. Dentist cleans the teeth with suction. It ends up plumbing the pipe. And suction, with suction in the palm, that's interesting. Yeah, interesting. All right, let's continue. So we've explored flow and we've explored connection. So now the third part of our practice is simultaneous flow and connection. So simultaneously changing impermanence and simultaneously that which keeps it all together, love. So on one hand, things are falling apart. And on the other hand, they're kept together. There's a beautiful word in science, entropy. Entropy is this things falling apart. So there's entropy, and there's that which keeps it all together. I don't know if it's called dysentropy. To look up the definition of entropy. As one goes forward in time, the degree of disorder of any isolated or closed system will always increase. This is entropy. So entropy is a measure of disorder that affects all aspects of our daily life. Melting ice is a perfect example of entropy. As ice, the individual molecules are fixed and ordered. As ice melts, the molecules become free to move and therefore become disordered. As water is then heated to become gas, the molecules are then free to move independently throughout space. So ice to water to gas is, ice to liquid to gas is entropy, an example of entropy. So notice flow, which is a kind of entropy, and notice connection, which is implicate order. There's an underlying order. So things are falling apart in an orderly way. Things are falling apart in an orderly way. You may or may not recognize that order. Appreciate that order, but it's there. So can you experience your own body and mind, your own life, in terms of these two things simultaneously: flow and connection, impermanence and love, entropy and implicate order. The invitation is to see yourself less as a person. We're used to seeing ourselves as a person. Vinti, Sandeep, Radhika, Ashwin. You're imagining you're a person. And I want to invite you to see yourself not as a person, but as a process. What do I mean by process? Things are flowing and things are connected. At the level of the body, at the level of the mind. There's change, impermanence, as well as love, kind of underlying intelligence, keeping it all together. Things are falling apart in an orderly way. The Buddha says the moment we are born, we start racing towards death. Nothing can stop it. The moment you're born, you begin racing towards death. So we come from nothing and we return to nothing. And to get this process, to really get it, is to release a very primal anxiety. Can you make peace with the fact that you come from nothing? You race towards another nothing. And even in this moment, you cannot really be defined. And maybe the key to understanding this is exactly this: flow and connection, impermanence and love, entropy and implicate order. You can't just think it, you've got to really come into the middle of it. It's not just theory. This morning I woke up and I was walking to the kitchen. My body was feeling very light and comfortable. And I realized that can't rely on this. You can't make this a foundation. You can't make light and comfortable a foundation. If you make it a foundation, then when it's no longer light and comfortable, then that'll be a tremendous disappointment. So when it's light and comfortable, it's just light and comfortable. It doesn't mean it's not a foundation. It's not something you rest on. When it's heavy and uncomfortable, that's also just what it is. It's heavy and uncomfortable. It's not a foundation. So we don't make a foundation of what is not worthy of being a foundation. Levels of comfort or discomfort, ease and unease. If you don't make these false things your foundation, then they won't bother you. They won't disappoint you when they're no longer that way. It's a process. This process includes flow and connection. We go from changing love to a love of change. Changing love, loving this person, this thing, that thing, this teacher, that teacher, this teaching, that teaching. From changing love to the love of change, which is another way of saying loving what is. What happens if you get connected to change, connected to the flow, and you flow within the connection? What's that like? The very small incident from Byron Katie's life that had quite a big impact on me. She was going to a friend's house and she opens the main gate. She enters the house. And from a distance, 3 large dogs charge towards her, barking. Byron Katie is not a very big woman. And so you can imagine 3 large dogs charging towards her, barking. It can be quite scary. But she thinks in her mind, the good news is they're not here yet. Good news is they're not here yet. So they're still several feet away. In other words, why worry about something that hasn't happened yet? Even though it'll happen in the next few seconds. But why worry about something that hasn't happened yet? So what happens? The dogs come. But because she's so calm, as you know, dogs calm down. And they realize she's not a threat. And they accompany her to the house. A very small example, but it had a big impact on me. Like how many times in our life, in our case, it may not be dogs. It may be something else. Oh, I'll run out of money. Oh, my health will fail. Oh, I'll lose my loved ones. Yeah, but it hasn't happened yet, right? You haven't lost all your money yet. You haven't lost all your health yet. You haven't lost your loved ones yet. So the good news is it hasn't happened yet. And when it happens, we'll see what happens. I was interviewed by this person the other day. He's a multimillionaire, but he almost became bankrupt. There was a time where he couldn't pay his bills. He couldn't pay his rent. He couldn't pay his employees. And he had the choice to file for bankruptcy. He had the choice to just sell out. He had the choice to do those things or to continue. And every day he'd ask his team, just tell me this much. Can we survive for one more day? And they'd say, yeah, for one more day we can survive. Okay, let's go for one more day. We'll decide a day later. We'll decide a day later. We'll decide a day later. Like this for 5 years. And it became one of the organizations that I don't know how many, or close to $1 billion he sold his company for. And he said that was the way he did it. He said, instead of imagining how bad it'll be, just one more day. And he said nothing in his life has taught him more. It taught him who he is, that I'm a person who takes people along. I'm a person who is resilient. I'm a person who doesn't give up. I'm a person who finds a way. I'm a person who's persistent. And it gave him this amazing confidence, which is another example of the same thing from a different way. So one thing I really want to emphasize in today's practice is take out this extra layer of worry. Take out this extra layer of worry. What benefit is there of worrying? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen anyway. Your worry is not going to change anything. And if it's not going to happen, then you wasted your time worrying. In both cases, you did gain nothing from worrying. And there is some kind of, it's a strange thing for me, but there's some kind of solace in realizing something is universal. The reason support groups work is you go and talk about how messed up your life is. And everyone says, yeah, our life's also messed up. Like, oh. And suddenly you feel relief. I'm not the only one. You go and talk about how bad your addiction is, how bad your habits are, how bad your thinking is. And other people say, oh, we've also been there. Oh, really? So to realize how universal things are. So flow is universal, change is universal, connection is universal. What we are all going through is universal. So you can just relax there. It's okay. This is the way it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. This mantra, it is what it is. I met this lady in the US who had advanced throat cancer. And that was her mantra. It is what it is. It is what it is. She never complained. And they say that at the end of her life, when she couldn't even speak anymore, but she's winking at them. She's giving a thumbs up. That's amazing. To be on the last day of your life and you're reassuring your own family, it'll be fine. I'm okay. It is what it is. This mantra can really take us through life. It is what it is. Instead of how it should be and could be and would be, how I should be, how you should be, how the world should be. It's a painful way to go through life. It is what it is. I get everything I need as I need it. I have everything I need as I need it. again connect with flow and flow within the connection. Notice how this body and mind are a process. We think it's a person, but actually it's a process. Even a glimpse of this is more valuable than gold and diamonds. To recognize that this body and mind is a process. This is more valuable than all your education, all your PhDs. This is the kind of recognition that liberates. Instant liberation. Everything is falling apart in an orderly way. So thank you for joining today and hearing me out from my dreams to these different practices of flow and connection, and the connection between flow and connection. If any of you want to say something before we end, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Sandeep.
Yeah. Good morning, Nithya, and thanks for another beautiful session. So nice to start with such a nice session in the morning. Always look forward to this. My question is like when you say recognize that your body and mind are the process, and this is one of the one of the biggest recognitions. I'm still not able to understand like how does one recognize that you are not a person but a process. So if you can just elaborate a little on this, it will help us to understand and apply it in our daily lives.
So a person normally, you're when you say you're a person, you're implying that first of all, you're an individual. You're a separate individual who has certain fixed characteristics. So either you're truthful or not so truthful. You're generous or quite stingy. You're caring or you're very unkind and cruel. And you're imagining that you're this fixed individual. But if you look carefully, you find that actually you're not any of those things. First of all, you're not an individual. You're very much a product of your culture, your society, your gender, your genetics. You're thoroughly dependent on the environment. You're dependent on food, water, air, sunlight. And these qualities are not that sacrosanct. If whatever you say you are, in some ways you're not that. One fun thing that we talk about is people who are, motivational speakers. And this is actually a true phenomenon. People who are motivational speakers, positive thinkers, teaching all of that, they're very negative at home. It's fascinating. They're actually very negative at home. Because if you try to tell the world, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, the shadow has to come out somewhere. So what this means is that actually we are everything. Yes, we are kind, but we're also unkind in some ways. Yes, we are fearless, but we're also fearful in some ways. Yes, we are strong, but we're also vulnerable in some ways. Yes, we are confident, but we're very unsure in some ways. As a person, you imagine I'm this, but I'm not that. But in reality, you also have that. Maybe it's not emphasized right now, but in different circumstances and different conditions, that will also emerge. So if you think of yourself as a person, you'll be very confused, very bewildered. Am I this or am I that? With these people, I'm this. With these people, I'm that. With these people, I'm very friendly, very outgoing. With these people, I'm very angry, irritated. I don't feel like talking to anybody. Which one am I? And I'm here to tell you, you're all of that and you're none of that. So like this, we understand. And like also we mentioned, change is happening without your permission. So if you're truly a person, then you should be able to decide, oh, I want to be like this. I want to be positive. I've heard positivity is good. I want to be positive for the rest of my life. Okay, try. Try for a day, forget about the rest of your life. What luck do you have? Can you really manage? You can marginally manage, but you can't really manage, right? So instead of trying to control who you are, we come to a place of observation. And the fascinating thing about observation is, in the act of observation, everything organizes itself. So as I observe my human journey, it automatically balances itself out. And I have less and less friction within myself and around myself. But this cannot come if I think I'm a person. This will only come if I see myself as a process. Otherwise, I'll always be in conflict with others because I see them also as people. You're supposed to be like this. Why are you behaving like this? No, but they are everything. They are the intelligence of life. So does that help a little bit? The shift
Yes.
from person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.